Knowing how to play your arpeggios is obviously great, but how can we go from simply knowing how to play arpeggios to improvising really cool solos with them? Well, luckily, it's not as hard as you might think. The first thing to do is simply to play the correct arpeggio over each chord, really paying attention to the beat and the rhythm so you can move to the next arpeggio at the correct time. Now for today's demonstrations, I'm going to do all of this on a blues in F, but the same approach is going to work for anything, whether that's a jazz standard or a pop song or whatever you like. Once you're comfortable with that, all we're going to do is start improvising with the rhythm. So we're going to keep the same notes in the same order, still using the correct arpeggio over each chord, but now the rhythm is entirely up to us. A little pro tip here, as well as changing the note lengths, try and put rests partway through the arpeggios to change the rhythm in a slightly different way. Already this is starting to sound a lot more like a solo. And rhythm obviously has a near infinite number of possibilities, so if you're a novice improviser, I'd really recommend spending a lot of time on this step before moving on to the next one, because to be honest, rhythm is always far more important than the notes you play. The next step is to vary the order of the notes you play. So we're still playing the correct arpeggio over each chord, but rather than starting on the root and just working your way up, now maybe you start on the third and work your way up. Maybe you miss out a note. Maybe you go down, then back up, like changing the direction partway through the arpeggio. There are loads of options, so to start you off, a few ideas should appear on your screen right now. I'm such a YouTube wizard. Now don't be afraid to work through some of these ideas separately in practice. If this is quite a new thing for you, it can be a little tricky at first. But once you've got some different shapes together and start improvising with them, it might sound a little bit like this. At this point, we're really getting somewhere, but you might find your solos still sound a bit bitty, like your improvised phrases aren't going smoothly across the chord changes and between the different arpeggios. Luckily, there's a really easy fix for this. When you move to the next chord, start your next phrase on the chord tone or arpeggio note closest to the one you just finished on. So if I'm playing over the F7 and I finish on the E flat, well, the nearest chord tone in B flat 7 to the note E flat is D. So then if I start my next phrase on that D, it's going to sound really smooth, almost like it was inevitable and it had to happen like that. And taking that idea across your whole solo is really going to smooth out those connections and make it sound pretty hip. So spend some time practicing this method and you'll be able to have great arpeggio-based improvisations in no time at all.